Hi, this is Jason's Trucking Info, and today we're doing an interview video. This is my second interview video, and these videos are designed to help drivers figure out how other truck drivers have gotten into the truck driving industry. So hopefully we'll help all of you guys learn new stuff, because no two truck drivers have the same origin. Everybody's got a different story. Everybody got into the industry just a little bit different way. So what this is designed to do is give you that information, so those of you who are looking to get into the trucking industry, you can be armed with a little bit different information by hearing from different drivers and how they got into the industry. So I'm gonna interview my co-driver Aaron Mays here. He's got how many years of experience?
Coming up on 4 years.
Coming up on 4 years. All right. And he's been in the industry for a little bit, and he's gonna I'm gonna ask him questions, and we're gonna try to make this short and sweet and make this video, progress along and make short and sweet answers, and try not to make this too long of a video, but still give you some information packed stuff so that you guys can arm yourself when you guys go to get into the industry. You can try to avoid a lot of the snags and problems that a lot of drivers run into. So hopefully he will have some very useful information for you guys who are thinking about getting into the industry, or even if you are already in the industry, maybe you'll learn something new. So all right, so obviously your name is Aaron Mays.
Yep.
You said you've been driving for 4 years.
Yes, sir.
How many types of trucks and different types of trailers, such as tankers, flatbed, doubles or triples, or dry van, reefer, what kind of different equipment have you hauled, and what other kind of gizmos and gadgets might you have to use on the job?
Through my experience, the only trailers that I had experienced in is dry vans, reefer trailers, and intermodal trailers. The things I could tell you about intermodal trailers, basically, they're not like dry vans. Intermodal trailers are more of a container. I don't know if you guys ever seen a rail yard container, but they're usually containers that are put on chassis, and chassis are basically like the wheels that hauls the containers. They basically, you gotta make sure they're locked on there, and you gotta make sure that they're sealed on there tight, because if you don't, one of the containers could fall off the chassis, and you don't want that to happen. So that's the difference between intermodal and a dry van. The dry van, well, obviously it's a regular trailer. Just make sure you got your locks in there, and make sure. Sometimes you'll deal with some dry vans that have some wings, and some of them don't have any wings. And what I mean by wings, wing doors in the back. So just to keep your, whenever it's very windy, keep your trailer intact. Because sometimes you may haul something light, and those wings could sometimes save your life. But yeah, that's the type of trailers I dealt with. Dry vans. The other ones I dealt with, reefers. Reefers are kind of like dry vans. Just think about a dry van with a refrigerator motor, basically. Reefers have motors in the back, and the trailer inside keeps the temperature cold or hot, mainly just cold though. If you're hauling a lot of frozen products, like you name it, nuggets, chicken, a lot of frozen food or fruits or candy, anything that needs to be frozen and good and kept in a good temperature. So reefer trailers are they're easy to do. All you have to do mainly just set the temperature. You always want to set the temperature at the right temperature. If the paperwork tells you, keep it at 0 or -6, keep it at -6. Don't try to put in your own personal temperature thought. Saying don't go by what you think. Go by what the paperwork thinks. Go by what the paperwork says. I'm sorry. And if the paperwork says, like I said, if it's this temperature, make sure it's in that temperature, because there's a couple drivers, that goes through reefer trailers and they don't set the temperature right, and the product melts, the product gets defrosted, and they feel like that's part of damaging the product, and it's part of causing contamination to it as well too. So you always want to make sure you set that temperature right. So, but that's the only experience I had with those type of trailers, just those three.
Okay. You mentioned the rail cars. Do you recommend doing that? Do you think that was a good driving position to be in?
Yeah, the rail yard is definitely a good, fast-paced job to be in. It's just when you get into the rail yard, you always want to make sure that your container and your chassis is really locked. That's it. But as far as I don't know, like if the container goes through some damage, it really doesn't really go too many damage like these regular trailers, like these dry vans or reefer trailers. The reason why, because these intermodal trailers, containers, they're metal, so they're just hard metal, like real
thicker stuff.
Thicker metal, yeah. So it's kind of hard for it to get a lot of damage too, and sometimes it's like they go through damage within the train, or within the guys who pull it out the train, or with the even drivers who back up, and drop it. Containers go through a lot of bullshit all the time, but it's not going to affect the product. Usually with a lot of containers, they haul a lot of dry products, so it's definitely a good industry to be in. Intermodal is definitely a good industry job to be in, because like I said, it's fast paced, you know where you're going, it's real easy to do, just drop and hook usually, and it's easy. So I recommend a lot of people to do it. If you ever want to first start off, I think you should start off with dry vans or intermodals. So
My dad did some of that for Central Iowa and some of the surrounding states out of a company out of Sheridan or Creston.
Oh yeah,
or something like that.
Yeah.
For a guy who has his own company, and then he contracted out to the rail yard company or whatever.
Okay, yeah, gotcha.
So
yeah.
he did that for a while.
So it's
yeah.
kind of like what we're doing, like we're contracting mills.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
So all right. Did you ever have to do any unloading or do any manual labor, like unloading your own trailers of using forklifts or a hand truck, like a electric or manual?
The only time that probably you have to do that was probably for reefer trailers, maybe. The reason why I say that, because sometimes you might have damaged goods in the trailer. So sometimes if you are forklift certified, that the companies, depending on if your company and that company allows you to drive the forklift, you can forklift the damaged goods out and then figure out what you want to do with them. You can keep them on a trailer, or you can forklift them out and put them in a dumpster, depending on how the negotiation goes between all three parties. So, but I never had to use a forklift to pull out product or anything like that. But I had touched product before. It's just I only had to touch it whenever it's damaged goods. As far as putting it in, I never putting it in or taking it out. Never did that. So.
All right. I wasn't really expecting to ask this, but I just thought of it. How much experience have you had with dealing with lumpers?
Lumpers, couple experience. So the things about lumpers, right? They're a fucking pain in the fucking ass. Especially if you're an owner-operator. If you're an owner-operator, it's coming out of your pocket. But if you're working with a company that's willing to pay for the lumper fees, then they'll pay for it. Some lumper fees are out this world. If you go to Rite Aid, if you go to Kroger's, if you go to Food Lion, and a lot of these grocery stores and a lot of these medical stores like Walgreens, they'll give you like lumper fees that's like $500, $700. But usually to situate that, all you have to do is just make sure you have a com data check written out from your company. It should be like a couple digits, and then usually your company will take care of that, and then you should be good. They won't take it out of your check. You just tell them like, hey, we got a lumper fee, and we need to go ahead and take care of this. So, but for owner operators, what the best advice I could give you guys is basically, you make a whole ton of money as an owner operator anyway. So a lumper fee should be like just another day in the park at work, you know. So, but as an owner operator, if you know you're going to a customer, just be prepared to pay for that lumper fee, you know. But it's worth it because usually if you get a high lumper fee, that means the load was worth it, and the load was a high value load. So, but yeah, that's the experience I had with lumper fees.
Okay. What made you decide to get into trucking? Did you grow up around trucking? Where did you learn how to drive a truck?
Well, I started off doing trucking. And a truck driver came to me at my job and he said I should go into truck driving. No, I wasn't in the trucking industry. I just always seen trucks drive by. So I was always curious. It just never was into it. So when a truck driver gave me more detail about what can I make and how can I provide more and see more, I was just excited and curious about how to get in the industry. So when I did my research on it, I found out how to get in. And the first company I started out with was CRST, but with CRST I didn't finish the qualification, so I ended up going to another company, which was CR England, and I ended up getting my CDLs through CR England, and then that's what the day that I started going out and mentoring and doing different loads. That was the first time I actually started doing reefer trailers, and that's how I got my experience through reefer trailers. So it was a good experience. When I first started out, I learned a lot, accidents and what to prepare for. So, but that's how I knew about truck driving.
Who did you like better, CR England or CRST?
For the most part, if you're doing training, CR England is the fastest to get training done. If you are a patient student, CRST is the best school to go to and the best paid to go to. CR England, they don't really pay too much, but if you want your CDLs on a fast process, they are a good school to go to get your CDLs in a fast process. So.
Okay. What do you feel is the hardest thing you've had to learn in trucking in the time you've been driving?
I think the hardest thing I had to learn in trucking was how to build a relationship with your customers, and also just navigating yourself, like not always relying on GPS all the time. Sometimes you deal with a GPS, it sends you out a route and you don't know where you're going, so you kind of have to do it on your own and figure it out how to get through it, how to maneuver it, and figure out other ways to get to the customer. Those are probably like one of the worst moments I ever been in. The other part was relationship with customers. Like I said, sometimes you go to customers and some of the customers, they're a little bit rude or they just don't speak out much. So as a professional driver, you always have to make sure you got that suit and tie on and make sure that you're professional and treat them with courtesy, even though they could be disrespectful or probably not respond to you in a way, or just not respond to you in a professional way. So you always got to make sure you're professional as a truck driver. So those are two things. The other thing was probably chaining up was probably the worst thing. Reason why, the first time I chained up, I had got a flat tire. I didn't know how to tighten it up. I knew how to put it around, but I never tightened it up. And the first time I chained up, it was snowing. We were going through California. Well, we're headed to California. We was in Nevada, and it was snowing bad, and we had a flat tire because I didn't chain up right. So we had to go right back to TSA and get that tire fixed and wait till the snow pass and drive in the dry weather. So those are probably the three worst things I ever experienced during my truck driving experience. So.
Okay. How much of what you learned as a truck driver was taught to you by either an instructor or driver trainer, and how much of what you've learned has been self-taught through trial and error and just stuff happening on the road?
Gotcha. Well, one thing I had to realize was, you're your own trainer sometimes if you figure out stuff on your own. And what I mean by that is, travel throughout the U.S., sometimes the roads, you have to recognize your roads, you have to recognize your highways, and sometimes you can't really get lost. You kind of have to try to remember everything, so that way you went through the state, you're going through the same city, so you know how to get through it, you know how to maneuver it and everything. So you're kind of your own navigational trainer in that department. As far as like how to there was a time where I didn't know how to slide a tandem. That was the first experience. My first experience with that was the customer told me to slide tandems. I was like, what is tandems? And I seen a truck driver slide his, and the way I learned was just observing all these other truck drivers, and I seen how he did it. So I finally went back there, pulled my tandems, and then I was like, okay, well, which one is the red one to pull in? And then, which I figured it out. It was the yellow one to pull in, and then to move up the yellow parking brake, and then to move your tandems, and then I finally moved my tandems, and then I was like, oh, okay, that's how you do it. So, it's mainly you're your own trainer by just observing at other truck drivers. I'm not gonna say 100% that you should look at other truck drivers. Truck drivers fuck up, but sometimes you can learn back up properly how to do this if you just observe, that's it, or even just ask questions. My other trainers, though, my trainers taught me a lot of stuff. They actually taught me the safer way to drive, how to float, the fuel, how to make sure you don't waste your fuel so much, so you can help the fuel economy. Also, they taught me a proper way to back up, a proper way to do pre-trip, a faster way to do pre-trip. I had some pretty good trainers, because some people don't have trainers, and they go to pre-trips and they end up doing pre-trips wrong. Sometimes you'll see a guy doing pre-trip from the trailer to the tractor, and it's like, well, I mean, that's cool, but why not just do it at the tractor first and then get done with the trailer later? I mean, you could do it however you want to do it, but just do it. I think the proper way is just start from the top to the bottom. You'll be quick, So I had trainers that taught me basically a fast-paced way to get the job done, so you could go ahead, head home early, and see wife and kids, or just head home for yourself, because some of you guys live by yourself and just want to relax. Yeah, but I had some pretty good trainers.
Okay. Was there anything about trucking that came quite naturally to you?
Navigating. That's it, basically. Just the navigating. Just the driving and navigating through cities and through different states. That kind of comes naturally to you. I mean, you're out here driving, so it's like you got to be expected to drive through these cities and states. So it's like it's just a natural. It's just a natural thing. Sometimes there's another natural thing that came to me. Well, now these companies are doing automatics, so that's like a lot of people are naturally getting used to that too, because it's like you don't have to stick no more. So it's like all depending on the accelerator, how you shift with the stick is on the side of the steering wheel. So all you have to do is just put it in drive, or put it in reverse and stuff. So that naturally came to me, because it's kind of like regular driving, except for you got to drive. So that came naturally. Other than that, that's it. Everything else kind of just took time and practice. But the driving portion, the navigating portion, was basically a lot of natural stuff going on. So.
Okay. This next question may almost be a repeat, but let's see. Do you feel that you were trained well enough to be able to go out and drive a truck with what they taught you?
Oh, fuck yeah. Hell yeah.
Okay.
I think I'm all the way.
Okay. What is your favorite thing about trucking?
Favorite thing about trucking is the traveling. and the money, of course. You gotta love that money, but it's definitely the travel. You go to different states, and most of the truck drivers that drive the truck, they're from little ass towns. They don't travel. They haven't seen the whole United States. They don't see nothing. So the traveling part is definitely the good part of truck driving. I love that. Every time, even going through the same routes, I still, my eyes are still an eye opener, and just be like, wow, man, this is beautiful. So,
Is there anything that you would like to change about the trucking industry?
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of things I like to change, but I'll keep it short and simple. Basically, one thing I would like to change in the trucking industry is it's just the rules, some of the rules and regulations. I feel like the weight scale probably need to be changed a little bit. Some guys haul 80,000, and they can't help it. If they tell the customer to, like, hey, can you remove that weight? They can't remove it sometimes. Sometimes they have to get it out. So if they don't get it out, that's losing money on their part. So it's like, I feel like the weight needs to be just a little bit less restricted, because obviously it's for a good cause. We're not, hauling heavy weight for a bad cause. It's to support other companies and support people who needs their product. So I feel like that needs to be changed ASAP. Will it ever change? I don't know. But hopefully it does change in the future, that 80,000 could be a little bit more extent than just a regular 80,000. But that's probably one of the things I would like to change. I have several things, but I'm good. I'm okay for right now. So.
Okay. Have you had any accidents as a trucker?
No, not whatsoever.
Okay. What mistakes have you made as a trucker? How would you advise others to avoid those same mistakes?
All right. Keep it short and simple. Get out and look. Just get out and fucking look. All right. Reason why I say that, because I have been in an incident where it wasn't no accident towards a car, or it wasn't an accident towards a person. It wasn't on my deal. It wasn't on my NVR or in my I forgot the other thing. God damn it.
The DAC report?
DAC report, yeah. It wasn't in my DAC report. It was just an incident where I came into a customer because my GPS was wrong. I went into a scrapyard, wanted to make a turnaround, ended up hitting the gate, taking a little bit, half of the gate off, and that's because I didn't look. I didn't get out and look. I didn't see how much space I had. I thought I could make the whole turnaround and make it, But you always want to get out and look, make sure that you see if you got enough space around, Another thing is driving. Make sure you stop being aggressive drivers out here. Just make sure you keep that distance, Stop. I mean, it's not worth. It's not worth, honking and sometimes it is, but sometimes it's not. Like, we're supposed to be defensive drivers out here. Let's stop being aggressive drivers, because if we are aggressive drivers, 9 out of 10, we're going to get into some accidents, and it's going to be our fault every time. Doesn't matter how it looks like. We're big, we're long, we're going to be the ones that's at fault. So that's how it is. So, but that's the only thing.
Okay. What things might you tell new or prospective drivers that you wish you had been told early on?
What I can tell about new prospective drivers is be aware. Be aware, and also know your information. Look into contracts deeper. Sometimes you be in these companies, you don't know what you're signing up for. Read the policies. Read everything that you know that won't be counted against you, and instead of a company putting that towards you. There's a lot of companies out here that that respect their drivers. A lot of them respect them. A lot of them that don't. A lot of them, they just see them as another driver. And if they feel like, if the company feels like they're in danger in some type of way, or they're finna get fined any type of way, they're gonna put that on the driver. And it's up to you as a driver to make sure that you have your own lawyer, that you read your own policy, you read the policy of the companies, you read basically every small print, so it won't come back and bite you. I guarantee you, if you just go into a company thinking that it's beautiful, it's nice to be in, it's good, it's a good ass job, and there is some good ass jobs, but you might be in a situation where the job might have to put you under the bus, and then you thought they were loyal to you, or you thought they were a good job, that they were going to have your back, but at the end of the day, they have their own back. So just make sure you do your research. That's the best I can advise.
Cover your own butt.
Yeah, at all times, okay?
All right. Would you recommend trucking to others?
Yes, I would. I would recommend it just as much as the military recruit other guys, other citizens, I feel like trucking is a good industry to be in for young 21-year-olds and up, or even older guys to be in. I feel like it's a good industry where you can definitely be comfortable and support your family. I feel like product needs to be moved every day. Trucking definitely makes the world go around. We get stuff transported to the distribution. You guys, citizens eat it, citizens use it, so I think it's a good industry to be in. I think it's probably one of the best industries to start off with as a young adult, or even as an old adult. I think it's just a good industry to be in. So that way you get your experience, you have comfortable money to save up on. So some people don't like to be in this career too much, but some people do. But it's just a good start off. If you're in a small town and you barely have any jobs, or so you get your CDLs, and CDLs is a good thing to have. So definitely think so.
Okay. Do you prefer night driving or day driving better?
Of course I like day driving. I think a lot of you like day driving, but I can do both. Night driving is cool to me. It's just that for some guys who are overweight, or some guys who are old, or some guys who just have wear glasses and can't handle that strain, that strain in your eye. You can't really keep that eye focused there. I recommend you guys to do day driving. Keeps you awake. A lot of sunlight. So, with me, doesn't matter. I can do day and night. But for most guys who just, like I said, the three sentences I just said, just make sure if you're overweight, a strain in your eye, or just can't focus at night, I recommend you not to do night driving. So.
Do you prefer being a solo driver or being on a team truck? Do you have any preferences with that? And what are your thoughts on either one?
Okay, so solo driving is definitely the coolest thing to do. I love solo driving. It's just you. It's just by yourself. If anything does happen, it's on you. The blame is just on you. So I think that's solo driving is probably one of the best driving experience you could get in. But if you do end up doing team driving, I think team driving is okay if you know the person, or if you could get along with the person, or if the hygienes are good, or if just the mix are good, the whole energy between you and that person, or the whole vibe between you and that
Chemistry.
person. Yeah, all that. So, it's just the same way how you meet a friend. Like if you have a good personality to meet a friend, then I think team driving is probably good for you. I'm not saying team driving is always bad. There is situations where when teammates don't get along, or teammates end up doing something crazy or something like that. There's always et cetera about bad teammates, just like with any other career, you know. But I prefer solo driving, but I don't mind doing team driving. It depends on who's the partner. So.
Okay. What would you tell people who don't understand the trucking industry about the home time a lot of drivers have and how some of that usually works?
So home time usually depend on what company you go to. As beginning drivers, do not expect to be home all the time. Reason why, because you're a beginner driver, they want you on that road. They want you to work, they want you to be on that road, they want you to keep it rolling, you know. It is kind of hard as a beginning driver to look for a company that'll allow you to be home all the time. So what I would do as a beginning driver, just do your research and figure out a company that'll bring you home a good amount of time, even though that you're starting out CDL driving, you know. If you do end up finding a company that's like that, good for you. That's good. That's great. Well, I ain't gonna say 9 out of 10, but I'm gonna say like about 7 out of 10. You know, you're probably gonna be on that road most of the time once you start out. Now, the ones who, you know, start out and been in the industry for about 2-3 years, you know, you could end up finding a good company that'll allow you to be home because they see you got that background, and they usually companies look at you and see if you got like at least a year or two of driving experience. If you got that year or two of driving experience, you're guaranteed you can find something to get home. So, but sometimes if you don't have that year or two experience, it's best just to do your research or just to stay with the company until you get your experience up on your driving. So that's the best advice I could do.
Okay. I guess just to sum it up, do you have anything else you'd like to add to this video to tell our viewers, anybody who's interested in the trucking industry, or even experienced drivers? Do you have any unusual or unique pieces of advice that might be something that maybe you yourself could tell that maybe not all other truck drivers, not the things that most drivers regurgitate, but something that maybe that come from you that you think is important for people to know?
Yeah, well, I don't have really too much. I mean, everything I said on the interview, I think that should be enough information for drivers to enhance and to just, you know, learn upon off the information I gave them. The only thing I could say is just, you know, expect the bullshit, expect the unexpected. Just always just watch yourself. You know, when coming in this industry, it's a great career to make good money and to travel, but it's also a dirty career as well if you don't do your research and if you don't just be a safety and careful driver. I'm not defending all truck drivers. I'm defending just everything. Even as a dispatcher, it's hard. Even as a owner who's trying to start up a trucking business, that's hard too. So, I mean, this whole trucking industry is hard. There's a lot of money being put into it, and there's a lot of money being going out. And as a driver, you just want to make sure that you're just professional at all times and gain as much information and much experience as you can. So that way, you know, you could give the information to somebody else, and that way you know how to prepare yourself for anything that happens in the industry. But other than that, that's all I got. Play the game.
One last question. Try to make it short and sweet.
Okay.
If someone were to approach you and wanted to know how to get into trucking, and how, now that you've been in the industry a while and you've seen a few things, how would you advise a random stranger who comes up, or just anybody you know that said, hey, I want to become a truck driver, but how do I go about getting into it? How do I figure out where to go and all this type of thing?
Yeah. First advice I tell them to do is either two things. One is try to find somebody with a truck and try to get your experience in, try to get your shifting in, try to get your just driving experience in. You know, if you know somebody in the neighborhood or best friend, farmer, whoever drives a truck, any operator that drives a truck, I'll try to get your practice in with them and that way you can get your CDLs through their truck or through even your truck if you have the money at the time. If you don't have the money, you can always ask somebody, can we borrow your truck, and practice on getting your CDLs. That's the first thing. Second thing is you can always go to a school entity. You can always go to a school institution that will sponsor you in getting your CDLs, meaning that they will go ahead, spend the money on you to train you to get your CDLs, to drive for them for at least a year, because it will be a contract, and just to teach you the experience of a truck driver. That's the first thing. Second thing you can do. I'm sorry. So you can either do that, or you can basically just go ahead and work somewhere, like you should say you work at a warehouse and you want to get your CDLs. You can always just save up your money, buy a truck, and go to the DOT and do the testing with your own truck that you buy, and with your own money that you bought for your CDLs. That's the last and final thing. So those are the three things that you can do to get your CDLs. If you was a stranger that I met, those are the three information I would tell you. Either find a friend who drives, go to a school institution, or just work, build up your money and buy your own truck, and that's the way you can do it.
All right, man. Thanks. Excellent interview. If you have any other questions for Aaron Mays, you can leave a question or comment below. If there's anything you'd like to ask him or me that you'd like have a question about, or anything either for him directly or me, you can leave a comment below. And please hit that subscribe button and hit that bell so you're notified of all my upcoming videos. There's going to be more interviews with more drivers, definitely more videos with Aaron Mays doing different stuff like backing and other skills. He's going to show off his knowledge. I'm showing off mine, obviously. And he's got his own channel. And what's the name of your channel?
Aaron Mays YouTube channel. Just type in Aaron Mays, you'll see me on there, and I got a couple videos on there for you guys, so check it out.
All right, go check him out. He's gonna be an up and coming YouTuber, and he's gonna have a big channel someday. So make sure you give a like to the channel. Helps it out. Helps.